Her people cheered so loudly the castle shook with joy. Sleeping Beauty looked to her side and shared a warm smile with her husband. "We should not forget the horrible curse of the past, but when we look back upon this dark time, let us remember how we triumphed over it," Sleeping Beauty continued. Small tears formed in her eyes. "Let it be a warning to all who try to interfere with our prosperity. The Eastern Kingdom is here to stay and stands united against any force of evil that gets in our way." The approving roar was so loud it actually knocked a man off the windowsill he sat on. "I have never been prouder to be among you than tonight. Here's to you," the jubilant Queen said, and the room joined her in sipping from their glasses. "All hail Queen Beauty!" a man in the middle of the hall shouted. "All hail the Queen!" the rest cheered with him. "All hail the Queen! All hail the Queen!" Sleeping Beauty waved at them graciously and took a seat. The festivities continued into the night, but just before midnight, the Queen was overcome by a strange sensation, a feeling she hadn't felt in years. "Well, isn't that bizarre?" Sleeping Beauty said to herself, looking off into the distance with a smirk. "Is there something wrong, my love?" King Chase asked. Sleeping Beauty stood and headed toward the staircase behind them. "You'll have to excuse me, dear," the Queen said to her husband. "I'm rather sleepy." She was just as surprised to say it as he was to hear it, because Sleeping Beauty hadn't slept in years. The Queen had made a promise to her people that she wouldn't rest until the kingdom was properly restored. Now, looking around at all the joyous faces in the hall, both the King and Queen knew that the promise had been fulfilled. "Good night, my love. Sleep well," King Chase said, and kissed her hand. In her chambers, the Queen changed into her favorite nightgown and slipped into her bed for the first time in over a decade. She felt as if she were being reunited with old friends. She had forgotten the feeling of the cool sheets against her legs and arms, the softness of her pillow, and the sinking sensation as she settled into the mattress. The sounds of celebration could be heard in the Queen's chambers, but she didn't mind. They were actually soothing to her. Sleeping Beauty took a deep breath and fell into a very deep sleep, almost as deep as the one during the 100 Years' Curse, except she knew she could awaken any time she wished. When King Chase joined her later, he couldn't help but smile at the sight of his wife peacefully sleeping. He hadn't seen her look this way since the day he saw her for the first time. In the Great Hall, the celebration finally concluded. The lamps in the fireplaces were extinguished throughout the castle. The servants finished cleaning up and were dismissed to their quarters. All was finally quiet in the castle. But a few hours before dawn, the silence was broken. Sleeping Beauty and King Chase were awoken by a thunderous banging on their chamber door. The King and Queen instantly sat up. "Your Majesty!" a man shouted from the other side of the door. "Forgive me, but we must come inside." The door burst open and the royal advisor ran into the room, followed by a dozen suited guards. They surrounded the bed. "What on earth is going on?" King Chase yelled. "How dare you barge into our—" "I'm so sorry, Your Highness, but we must get the Queen to safety immediately," the advisor said. "Safety?" Sleeping Beauty asked. "We'll explain on the way there, Your Majesty," the advisor said. "But right now, we must get you into the carriage as fast as possible. Only you. Traveling alone will be much less conspicuous than a carriage transporting you and the king." The advisor looked at her with frantic eyes, begging her to oblige. The Queen froze. "Chase?" Sleeping Beauty said, and looked to her husband. She wasn't sure what to do. The king was at a loss for words. "If they say you need to go, you must go," was all he could muster. "I cannot leave my people," Sleeping Beauty said. "With all due respect, Your Majesty, you're no good to anyone dead," the advisor said. Sleeping Beauty felt the pit of her stomach drop. What did he mean, dead? Before Sleeping Beauty knew it, the guards had lifted her out of the bed and onto her feet. They quickly escorted her and the advisor to the door. She didn't even get to say goodbye. They rushed down a spiral staircase to the lower levels of the castle. The stone steps were rough on the Queen's bare feet. "Someone please tell me what is happening," Sleeping Beauty said. "We must get you out of the kingdom as quickly as possible," the advisor said. "Why?" she asked, starting to fight off the guards escorting her. No one replied, so she stopped in the middle of the stairs, solid as a rock. "I won't move another step until someone informs me. I am the Queen. I have the right to know." The advisor's face went pale. "I don't mean to alarm you any more, Your Majesty," he said, his jaw quivering. "But shortly after midnight, after all the guests had gone home, 2 soldiers on duty near the front of the castle